The prototype champ has been decided. The GT AM champ has been decided. All eyes now turn to the GT Pro class. A mere 2 points separate Booth and Binkley. On top of that, they have equal drop points in their pockets. Will these narrow margins bring it all down to the bonus points this evening? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 14 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth today is Chad Irvine and DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road Atlanta is known in multi-class racing for creating frantic situations. Let's head to our track guide to learn more. Welcome to Road Atlanta, the scene of incredible sports car racing for decades and the home to the Petit Le Mans. This is a track that has proven itself to be worthy of attention on a world stage. With it being situated only an hour northeast of Atlanta, Georgia, the circuit is in a prime location. But despite its flagship race, in contrast to the real Le Mans, the full course is a measly 2.5 miles long. The club layouts also clock in at just under 2 miles. Packed within this small lap length is a series of technical and challenging corners, some of which can be race-ending even when small mistakes are made. Turn 1 is a fast sweeper which compresses the car into the track, but the high speeds mean that when you go off, you typically go off in a big way. Turn 3 is notorious for its curved entry into a blind apex. Too far inside and you face a cut course penalty. Too far outside and you're likely to spin out. Then there's the unassuming Turn 5. The wide curbing lures you into getting greedy, but the close walls on either side gobble up cars and spit them out as a crumpled heap. With all the tricky fast turns, that's not to say that there aren't passing opportunities. The main one comes at the chicane at the bottom of the backstretch. The huge downhill drop into the turn makes outbraking yourself quite easy though, so be careful. The whole thing wraps up with the frightening final corner. With nothing but a giant wall right to the outside as cars fly through at high speed, it's not often that wrecks are small. Boasting a wide swath of series over its history, everything from NASCAR to Indy Lights and of course IMSA, the main use of the track is SCCA events and driving schools. No wonder this place is popular both in real life and here on the iRacing service. Fans will no doubt get to enjoy many more years of action at this incredible track. Well, DJ, our director likes to call it the pork chop, but one thing is for sure about this place is it certainly delivers some delicious racing on most occasions.
It certainly does, Joe, and Road Atlanta is a perfect home for this multi-class field, obviously hosting the Petit Le Mans every year. And it goes without saying, but there are a couple of danger zones to watch out for on this track, namely all in that first sector. The S is always tricky to get exactly right, and when you throw in some slower lap traffic, it's going to be very hard for both the prototypes and the GTEs to make sure they're able to thread their way through there cleanly. The major passing zones we're going to see, well, that's going to be diving down into turn 6 potentially, but the best one is going to be going down into turns 10A and B. That is after that long back stretch. Look for some good drafting to take place there. We've seen some good battles develop on the front straightaway as well, diving into turn 1, although getting an actual pass done into turn 1 can be a little bit difficult. It's not really a full braking corner. And then the one sequence we haven't talked about, well, that is the 2-3 sequence, the blind turn up the hill, a blind braking zone. So easy to get caught out there if you're not on top of your game. And for all of these classes, it requires the utmost concentration, lap after lap.
Yeah, it is a quick one to get around, and the championship has been quick. The drivers at the top have been quick, but for the prototypes, it is David Williams who is the quickest. 14 points ahead of Jason DeVries. Now, despite it being 23 points max for win, because he has drop weeks, 12 points to be exact, essentially DeVries will have to hope that David Williams will wreck out today, and DeVries has to have a perfect race to clinch it. That said, that includes the pole. So essentially, if DeVries does not take pole, that is the championship over from there. Beyond that, things get really tight in the points, and so we're watching some of the farther down. 3rd to 6th is incredibly close. It's only 12 points between Kundiger, Wolf, Smith, and Carbonneau, so watch out for those guys as the race continues. In the meantime, DJ, I believe you've got those GT Pro points.
I do there, Joe, and it is a very, very tight battle at the top. Only 2 points separating Kevin Binkley and Ross Booth. And with Booth taking the pole here in the GTE class, he inches himself only 1 point away. So a very, very tight battle that we're going to have to keep our eye on throughout the course of this race. Christopher Pies in third has secured that position for himself. No way he can be touched, but a very close battle there. Back for fourth place, Young Park leading Marc-Antoine Thibault and Olivier Turcotte only by a single point. So that is another battle we're going to have to keep an eye out for in those GTE cars.
And down in GTM as well, this one's been decided for a couple of weeks now. Ryan Wasilewski has had this clinched by 2 weeks ago. He's got a 59-point lead over Joey Atterbury, who is well in front of Ryan Robertson. But by the third, fourth, and fifth, and even further down, there's still some pretty solid gaps or some pretty big moves people can make. Top from about fifth on back, there's only about 4 points separating the next couple of guys. David Perry wrapping up the top 5 there in GTM. And we've got one more championship, the team championship, Joe.
Exactly. And up at the top of that, though it's mathematically possible, the DMG United team has informed me that they're not really going to make a concerted effort for this one, since it essentially relies on the VRS guys to all wreck out at the start of the race for them to be able to overtake them. From there on down, the gaps just get very far apart, with fourth and fifth potentially swapping places. Autobahn North and Lap Rats Racing, about the only ones within range of one another. So that one has really become a bit of a damp squib towards the end. But we do have race details in case we've got some new viewers. DJ, why don't you run us through that?
Well, Joe, we are in for an endurance race here tonight. It is a 90-minute race around the twisty confines of Road Atlanta. Now, those 3 classes we talked about, the LMP2s, the top class, they're all going to be in those Dallara chassis. In the GT Pro, they've got a choice of cars, Beamers, Corvettes, and Porsches. We'll talk about what's going to favor each of them over the course of the race, and then another 3 choices for the GTM category, that being the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, and the BMW. Now, important to remember, in the 90-minute race, drivers will have to come in and make a pit stop or 2 potentially, depending on how well they can milk out that fuel, and there is no fast repair. So if you bin it, your night's over.
Speaking of the night being over, we do not see Jason DeVries out here today, and unless he gets here within the next 6 minutes, that is championship done, obviously, as Paul Darling will absolutely clinch it by the end of qualifying. David Williams just took the pole away from Paul Darling, and looks like Darling is going to come back out, try and take that back. He's got half a tenth to make up. It is tight margins up in that prototype group.
It certainly is, Joe. Only about a second separating the top 8, so not a lot of room for error here as we watch Daniel Morad coming around that final corner. It looks like that's a bit of a slow lap for the Moradness Esport driver as he makes his way around that first corner that we talked about.
Now, we have a name in here that is familiar to fans of this series, but not necessarily people who've been watching the prototypes. Chad, we've got a very dominant figure who's actually showing quite well here today.
There's a lot of guys running over all across the in different categories, especially from GTM, especially with Ryan Wasilewski. You normally running, of course, down in the GTM. And then running today, actually, in prototypes, currently sits fourth, about 4.5 tenths back of David Williams, who currently sits on pole. He's got some work to do, but he is, you see him there with the cam provided to us. Of course, another Purdue jersey. Can't say we always agree on that one, but he's looking good out there, and he's currently sitting fourth in the timing charts.
people in the booth not apparently a fan as he comes down into the chicane. Has certainly translated well. Not something that you see often, but after his incredible performance, having won race after race in the GT AMs, he's going to work his way up, and he goes to a 108.8. That does not advance him up a position, but puts him within 0.3 of Daniel Morad, who has also come back. The professional is going to try and ply his trade once again.
And there he is again, coming through that overtaking zone that we talked about, that turn 10A and B, working his way down the hill through this fast sweeper. Looks like this is going to be a warm-up lap for Morad, so not a good time for him. But let's focus in here on Mark Wilson making his way under the bridge right now. Wilson currently back in 12th, hoping to improve on a 109.9.
He crosses, it's a 1:10.1, so he's just off of his best. Kundinger goes quicker, and I think, I'm not sure if he went higher than his 9th position. So we're going to check out Leif Peterson, who looks like he's abandoning his lap, unfortunately. So he's going to restart. He does have time, as they do get around here extremely quick. And Santana is going to be next to his come over to the prototypes as well, as he also was a front runner in the GTMs, but hasn't quite seen the success that we've seen from Wash.
Yeah, not exactly, Joe, although we do remember him running that spectacular no-stop strategy earlier this season. Here he comes across, not able to improve on a 110.4 right there. He's going to stay back in 10th. You can see a lot of these drivers taking up as much of the draft as they can going down that backstretch. Williams there unable to improve. Let's see Bradley Haley. Haley unable to improve, about 0.2 off of his best time.
So Haley, another one who used to be a GT driver, but this season he has regularly been over here. This time, though, not looking too bad there within the top 5. Wash is back out, seeing if he can improve upon that 108.8. Kundinger, as he crosses a 109.4, and once again, just not able to get himself past Billy Smith. He's down to less than 0.03 of a second behind the 901.
Yeah, very true, Joe. Here we're going to follow Kevin Santana in the number 666 as he works his way down the backstretch. He's leading a long row of cars here, including Ryan Wash and Billy Smith, as they come through that final chicane. Looks like he was able to handle that pretty well. You can take some pretty good margins as he comes through. Now he comes down through that final corner. Is he going to be able to improve his time? He is, with a 106.4, and that is going to bump him up ever so slightly.
So as we watch these last dying stages of the qualifying for our prototypes, we're waiting to see if Paul Darling can overtake David Williams, because there is so little in it between them. Or will we also see the second row switch around between Morad and Wash? Robert Tinsey, last time by a 109.2, is not going to do it for him. Darling is coming into the pits, and he's not going to have time to get back out and run another one, so Darling has conceded the pole.
Oh my goodness gracious. But now we're going to focus on Leif Peterson, the driver of the 39, to see if he's able to improve from his 7th place position. Good run under the bridge. Let's see what he's got. Comes across the line. Oh, 0.3 off.
Santana's next. He hit his personal best with a 109.6 last time. He sits in 10th position. His traditional 666 there on that Lap Rats machine. As he comes around the final corner, it will become a 109.4, 0.2 faster. That's up to 8th. He's getting the hang of this thing.
He is indeed. Ryan Wash there on a slow lap, so he's not going to be able to improve, unfortunately. Here comes Bradley Haley across the line. Haley able to improve there by a couple of tenths of a second. Going to hold on to that 5th place position. And whoa, there's a lap from Morad.
But he doesn't go higher than 3rd. The 108.7 still has a 1/10 to manage to get onto the front row. Tinsey doesn't improve once again. Kundinger is next, and he hits a 109.4 and still finds himself unable to go faster than the drivers he's competing with. Kanchan is slow, so he's done with his qualifying. The checkered flag is out, so this is it. Everybody on their fast laps has to try and go that little bit quicker. We're watching Santana gain. Let's see if the 666 has anything more in it. He improved by 0.2 of a second last time. As he comes around the final corner, he's got a 10th to make up to get into 8th position, and he's not going to be able to do it.
No, he's not. Watching some of these final drivers crossing the line here to see if anybody's got anything. Looks like Billy Smith able to improve up into 6th place. Just waiting for the last few to come across. Daniel Morad now coming across the line. Morad looks like he is unable to improve, so he's going to stay 3rd. The last two now, Robert Tinsey and 10th place, Carter Kundinger.
Tinsey down and across is not going to find any speed. Kundinger, the last one. 109.1, that'll do it, and he goes up to 8th just behind Robert Tinsey. So our drivers have managed to swap around in the late stages. Some, though, getting achingly close to those ahead. Morad just 0.157 away from that front row. But again, it comes down to oftentimes the race pace, as well as we've often seen traffic management here at Road America. So the drivers will have to be heads up and keep their eyes on a swivel today, because they'll be going through lots of different cars as it progresses. This season finale in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, with Williams having claimed the pole. Let's go through that starting order here today, because we do have quite a decent sized field. And up at the top, as I mentioned, Williams takes the bonus point ahead of Paul Darling to his outside. Daniel Morad returns and starts from 3rd. Ryan Wash over to the prototype, starts from P4 with Bradley Haley in 5th. Billy Smith still looking for a win in this series. He'll start from 6th today. Robert Tinsey will be 7th and Carter Kundinger in 8th. Then it's Leif Peterson in the 9th position. Kevin Santana starts 10th, and Robert Kanchan in 11th. Last of our prototypes will be Mark Wilson.
Ross Booth is going to be doing what he needs to do, taking that bonus point for pole and taking the fight to Kevin Binkley. Next to him, it's going to be Stephen Jeffrey with Brian Bennett and that other championship rival, Kevin Binkley, in 4th. Christopher Pies, your locked in 3rd place driver, is going to be 5th, followed by Young Park in 6th, with Jason DeVries making the hop over into the GTEs, starting off in 7th, followed by Mo Islam. Joey Atterbury is going to be in 9th, and Paul Slavonic to his outside in 10th, with Sheldon Rosenbaum in 11th and Dominic Dornenberg in 12th, and then leading up the back of that GTE field, it is going to be Jerry Muller in 13th.
And down in GTM, 5 of the top 10 drivers are not racing in this class or racing for their teams in other classes, but Ryan Robertson sits on the pole in the GTM class with Kevin O'Keefe next to him. Then Luke Schmidt and David Perry, with Chris Sherburn qualifying in 30th overall. 6th in class is Dale Green next to Sean Reese. Jared Eaton, 33rd overall, 8th in class. And wrapping up the GTM field is the 003 of Joe Steifel.
The best position today in that battle for the 3rd to 6th places is Smith, and he is starting from the 6th position. Interesting to note about him, I mentioned that he hasn't won yet this season, but he's actually taken 3 podiums, including last round at Bathurst. So he knows how to handle a frantic race. Let's see if that serves him well as we ride on board with them. I do believe, actually, we do have a few on board. Let's roll through those. And I know we already did see one of them with Ryan Wash. And there he is right there, heading up into turns 3 and 4. You can really get a good sense of how blind it is into this left-right sequence here that leads you into the S's. And then I do believe, who else do we have today? That is it, apparently. Guys are shy here in the finale. They want to focus on the racing. They know they're going to be busy out there on the track. So as we work around for our pace lap, the good news is, guys, Chad, especially here down in the GTMs, we've still got a very close fight for many of the lesser positions. 5th through 9th looks pretty close down there in your class.
Absolutely. David Perry right there. Kevin Santana sits 4th in class, even though he hasn't raced in the GTMs the last 4 races. But even, was it 5th through 9th? They're all separated by single-digit points from one car to the next. So definitely going to be an interesting show to see how the top 10 shakes out in the point standings.
And of course, the big talking point, DJ, is that GT Pro fight and Ross Booth taking that bonus point puts him that little bit closer to Kevin Binkley.
It certainly does. That is going to be a big storyline. The VRS satellite driver coming up against Binkley. Both of them in the Corvettes with their own little disadvantages and advantages here. So we are going to keep a very close eye, and we're going to be doing a very terrifying thing. We're going to be trying to be doing some live math for you to keep you updated about that championship fight.
We've had to manage it in 3-4 different races this past week, so we're hopefully used to it a little bit here on the channel. In the meantime, that front row with Williams and Darling, the two teammates have locked it out. Who is going to win between them? Williams has the pressure off. He can go for broke. The pace car is in, and the green flag is out. He doesn't get the best of jumps over Darling, who's got momentum around the outside coming down to the first corner. Is he brave into this left or right-hander? No, not quite. He's going to fall back in line. That'll take us down to the GT Pros.
And the GT Pros were just about ready to get going, and there, Ross Booth getting a very good jump on the field. A little bit of a big jump on the curve there for Brian Bennett in that Porsche. Looks like it's going to be Binkley trying to challenge around the outside there of that first corner and move himself into the podium position. That's Binkley. That is Binkley off.
And the GT-Ams running clean here. Everybody single file under the bridge down the hill and into turn number 1. Everybody back to single file. And we're still working their way through the S's for the first time in today's race.
Wow, drama in both our top two classes. Tinsley and Santana had an off, and now one of our championship rivals finds himself unceremoniously shoved into the barriers. We check on some of our prototypes. Up at the front, looks like Morad going to hold off Wash, but back at where we're watching, this is Kundinger, Smith, Haley, barely separated into the chicane.
I think Haley may have gotten a little bit of the back of Kundinger there. They're going to go too wide through that final corner. That's very tricky to get right. Billy Smith Jr. pops back into line. Braley Haley's going to take a look down to the inside, tries to see if he can get something doing into the turn 1. Everybody's on a different line as they make their way through the first corner.
For an update on what happened to Kevin Binkley. He actually had, I think it was Bennett, slide a bit in the first corner, and he was just close enough that he just boinked him off into the grass, and unfortunately, he didn't have the grip to keep it out of the tires. Let's take a look at the replay, actually, and see if we can dissect this a little bit more.
Yeah, so here we go on that GTE start. Little bit of a late start for Binkley. Now that is going to be him to the inside there, or Binkley to the outside. There you see they come through. There's that little bit of slide that you talked about that sends Binkley off hard onto the binders, trying to get it under him. That's a pretty heavy hit into the wall, Joe. I am looking at his car now. It doesn't look like there's too much damage, maybe just a little bit of cosmetic on the right front. He's already having to work his way through the GT-Ams though right now.
Man, a lot has been happening. Something happened to Paul Darling because he's at the back of the field. Oh, he went off turn 7. It was quite some time ago. So this means Morad's in second. Wash is in third. And down in fourth, we were watching this before with Smith, Kundinger, and Haley. Just absolutely nothing between them as they head through the S's.
Absolutely line astern, and there is no real way to get by there through the S's. But now Kundinger may try to get a little bit of a good run there. Running wide in the back, that looked like Bradley Haley tried to carry a little bit extra speed through turn 5. Hard onto the binders here into turn 6 and through 7. This is where the draft is going to come into massive effect. These cars are on top of each other, and they're going to be taking full advantage of the slipstream.
Let's keep the cameras here, but it seems the racing gods have a sense of karma because Brian Bennett slid off the very next lap in the same corner, all on his own accord. Meanwhile, big draft here for Kundinger on Billy Smith. He's going to poke to the inside, but Smith is deeper on the brakes.
This is an hour-and-a-half race there, Joe, but I think Carter could have taken that position if he wanted to, but he's not looking like he's going to let the fight go quite early here. Gets another bit of a good draft coming up behind onto the main straightaway. Billy Smith going defensive as they go into turn 1, but that's going to allow for Kundinger to carry a little bit more speed.
How close he is to that rear wing. Again, another little informational tidbit. Kevin O'Keefe had a spin at turn 5. He's getting the car going. Looks like he managed not to hit anything, as Tinsley just stole the fastest lap away from Daniel Morad, and they're already coming upon lap traffic.
Yeah, that's Sean Reese and the GTAMs that really helped out there. It looks like Bradley Haley, who may have had a little bit of a thought of a run, again, going into turn 6. I said you can get a pass done there. It's a little bit tricky, only about a third or a fourth gear corner, depending on how your gear ratios are set. But now we get back into the draft.
So along the back stretch, once again trying to pull on Billy. I don't think Kundinger is as close this time. So, yeah, not going to be able to see him make a move this time into there. Now, up at the top of the GT Pros, it is not that far apart between Ross Booth and Stefan Jeffrey. And I believe Jeffrey is another one that is in battle for position. Yeah, he's 2 points away from sixth spot with Turcotte and Thibault in front of him.
Yeah, very much in play for that fourth, fifth battle that we talked about, and doing a very good job here of keeping up with everybody. Now, Joe, I have to say I'm a little bit surprised here. Our 3 leading GTEs are all Corvettes, and I would not have expected that. The Porsche is normally known for having some better straight line speed, and down this mega backstretch, I thought that would be stretching his legs, but clearly this commentator got that wrong because it is a Corvette 1, 2, 3.
Certainly impressive, and after that seems to be the Porsches who are kind of next best with, they've got 3 within the next 4 within the next 5, honestly. We're checking out Mo Islam, who's in the midst of that pack, running in a Bimmer, only 2 or 3, 3 that I see out here today. He's chasing Young Park for that top 5.
Yeah, and Young's had a very good run of races recently. Mo Islam trying to close in on him. Good job being a little bit later on the binders there into turn 5. That's a very tricky corner to get right. You really just kind of have to wait and let the car go. As there you see coming into turn 6, nothing doing, but this is going to be the chance for Islam to try to make an attack if he wants it. Gets a good run out of turn 7, maybe able to take advantage of the draft here.
Oh, and something's happened to Williams. He's checked up by traffic, and here comes Daniel Morad, the IMSA driver. Really wants to try and snag another win. Last time he got one was back at Sebring, second round of this season. He gets denied through turn 6 with Williams covering off the inside. If he can get the launch on the back stretch, you could maybe get enough of a run to outbreak him into the chicane.
I think he may be a little far back from what I've seen, but then again, look at that closing speed coming up to 162 miles an hour. He's got about a 3-mile-an-hour advantage over his competitor in front. He's going to have to be super late on the binders. That's Williams going defensive, and indeed, Morad not going to be able to get the job done. Williams, though, taking a little bit more curve there, kicking up some dirt. That may open up a little bit more of a door.
We've seen in the past that Morad is willing to be aggressive to try and take victories. We'll see if he's going to put that to good use here today. We're barely 8 minutes into this race, and already things have been flipped on their head out here.
They really have, Joe. It's what Road Atlanta does best, just throwing up a fantastic race. As we see Morad falling a little back there through the S's. Williams getting a little bit of an advantage, that gap growing out to just under a half a second.
Yeah, now that they've got some clear air, I think this allows Williams to really put his foot down and try to put some distance between himself and Morad. They've got, looks like Jerry Mueller in front, and then they'll get in a few of the GT Pros. So they'll go through it all over again, but this is a short respite in this 90-minute race. And look at him weave back and forth, trying to break that slipstream.
It's an effective strategy there for Williams, and certainly helped him. He was able to keep that gap to about 4.5 tenths of a second. They've got to be a little bit careful. They're coming up on lap traffic, but we got to jump back to the GTE lead here as Stefan Jeffrey really starting to put the screws to Ross Booth.
Yeah, Stefan definitely eager to try and get himself a victory. He's had 3 second places this season, but never a win. And right now, he's got a great opportunity to do so, with Binkley having his trouble at the beginning.
Yeah, not doing as great. He really wants to hold on to this as much as possible. There we go through turn 7. Good runs for both cars. A little bit of counter steer there on the exit for Jeffrey, but he is going to be very, very close. Looking at the speed traps right now, they're about dead even, so I've got to think maybe Ross Booth just a hair more trimmed out.
Yeah, considering he's the one punching the hole in the air. Stefan Jeffrey, you would think, would be able to close that little bit better, but it's not going to be the case this time. Stays about 0.3 back. They come to complete another lap. Before they know it, they're already going to be lapped by our prototypes because it's, I'd say, about a lap and a half to go. And we see Robert Cancian, for some reason, off at turn 7.
Yeah, I caught this out of the corner of my eye, Joe. So here he is coming through that turn 7, comes in. Looks like he just took a little bit too much speed into the corner, couldn't get it wound down, and that carried him out wide, understeered there. Little hit into the wall that's going to affect the aerodynamics, but based on the way he's going right now, I don't think any suspension damage to that 199.
Back up to the top spot with the traffic once again stopping things up for David Williams. Morad's going to try and take advantage. Can he find the pick that he needs?
Well, he's certainly trying to. Morad almost into the back of him there into turn 6 and through turn 7. A little bit of lap traffic ahead. That's actually going to help Williams out, give him a little bit more of a tow, and Daniel Morad's going to really have to hustle it here to get this pass done.
Well, let's go to Bradley Haley and Carter Kundinger. They're side by side as they're letting Paul Darling get away from them. And onto the backstretch, it looks like Haley has the better exit, but now that Kundinger ducks back in, look at him, immediately gets right upon him. He's going to bump draft him. He's bump drafting prototypes.
Boys, this in the Atlanta Motor Speedway. You can't do that. But there they come in. They kept it pointed the straight way, so I guess there that they know something I don't. Carter Kundinger keeping everything wound up, and he's going to try it, Haley.
And we got to go to the lead because they're side by side as well, and they're coming up to traffic. Who is this going to play in favor of? Morad is right now behind the GT car, but is it going to switch to an open? Yes, it does. Just in time, and trying to get through the S's, just finding a gap. Williams keeps him in touch, but he has lost the top spot.
He has indeed, and that is what you call making an opportunity for yourself. Daniel Morad not taking no for an answer and taking over the lead of this race.
And that was poor Christopher Pies, who was watching that in his mirrors, hoping that these guys do not shunt him off the track as we hop on board with Williams now chasing Morad just ahead of him. That is DeVries. So that's where DeVries went, over down to the GT Pros.
Yeah, I think he knew that was over for him, but we're going to jump back over to that lead of the GT Pros. This is Booth and Jeffrey with Daniel Morad coming up behind them right there for the lead of the LMP2s.
So watching behind, and you can see how that traffic not only plays a part in the LMP2s, but in those GT cars as well. Ross Booth having to let go Williams when he's fighting with Stefan Jeffrey less than half a second behind him.
Ooh, and I have to say, Daniel Morad got very held up there by Sean Reese up ahead, but we're going to stick with this battle. This is going to be very, very good here. They've got to watch. That is Reese that they're going to come into, and this is going to be Ross Booth praying that he doesn't catch him at the wrong time. He does catch him at the wrong time. That's going to check him up at the apex.
Man, the traffic very quickly has proven to be one of the major factors here today. Wash is going to go by all of them as Booth ahead of Jeffrey goes by Sean Reese. And looking a little bit farther back, Smith and Smith and Darling here side by side. Darling getting the inside of the second apex. He's going to claim 4th. So that will at least settle itself for the time being, but it's going to erupt once again as soon as they hit more traffic here into the S's.
It will indeed, and I think Billy Smith may have been able to hold on to that, Joe, but he ran a little bit wide. Making a very aggressive move there is Paul Darling.
Just to keep everybody updated on GTM, Ryan Robertson started from the pole, led every lap so far. He's got about a 5-second lead over Luke Schmidt. Then Sherbert, Perry, and Stifel all pretty spread out. About 20 seconds or so behind the leaders to the top 5.
Meanwhile, Park and DeVries, along with, it looks like Christopher Pies there, fighting for the last step on the podium.
We've got to jump up to the LMP2s. David Williams has made a move down the back stretch to take back the lead from Daniel Morad.
We're going to have to go to the inside of Joe Stifle. Now, how did this happen? Did he just get a run, or was it traffic?
There was a little bit of a hold up there from Jared Eaton behind through 6 and 7. I believe that's what got him, and that's what allowed for Williams to get the good run and good heads-up play to get around Joe Stifle there as well.
It's not over because Williams still has Morad within 0.3 of a second, and here's Dave Perry. Ooh, Perry lets one through, and Morad is going to have to play extremely patient. He goes from 0.3 back to 1.2 of a second behind our leader.
And Joe is a top-class driver. That is one of the most frustrating things about being here at Road Atlanta. Absolutely nothing Perry could have done. He was just driving as he needed to do, and the track narrows up there through the S's. There is no other way by.
Behind them, Smith and Darling are getting held up a little bit by Stifle. Is this going to offer up a chance to Smith? We're riding on board, and no, it looks like he's fallen away.
Yeah, I think what happened there is that there was a little bit of a draft that was able to be picked up by Paul Darling coming off of Stifle, and that's what able to get him by. There you can see, though, Smith able to pull up a little bit near the end of that straightaway, kicking up a lot of dirt. Looks like he did. Wow, big tail slide there from Smith coming out of turn 10.
901 having to catch it out of the chicane. We're going to look at the replay. You saw up in the corner as well, Williams taking the fastest lap.
Watch this here. Joe gets a good run there, good amount of curbing, and that tail just wants to slide away. And remember, when they were side by side coming through that same corner, he almost had a very similar slide, kicking up a lot of dirt on the outside.
And Darling just went off. Darling was offline trying to overtake Perry into turn 3, went off course, didn't hit anything, but Billy Smith easily breezed past and took that 4th place.
Oh, all right, there you see him getting by, Darling getting by Chris Sherburne as well. He's only got Smith too far ahead of him, though.
Ooh, and look at this. That's Jeffrey right behind Booth once again. Mere 10 splitting them onto the back stretch. He's not close enough. He was within the slipstream range into from between 5 and 6 there. And now the traffic once again just pulling them apart. Robert Tinsey going to easily find his way past them down towards the chicane. But as it sits for Booth, I mean, if you're in his position here, DJ, how hard do you fight? Because you've got to know that Kevin Binkley at this stage is way far back.
Yeah, I do. I want to hold on to the win as much as I can, if nothing else for bragging rights, but I'm also keeping a very, very close eye on where Binkley is. If it comes out the way it is now, Booth take the victory, and he's going to know that. I think if Jeffrey really wants to push the issue, Booth will back off as much as possible.
And Booth has 3 wins right now, so he'd like to tie it up with Binkley, who himself has 4. So far, so good. We've been seeing little bits of the sun poking its head out, even though it's quite cloudy today, but not necessarily for long. This race started a little bit later than they often do in this series, 7 p.m. virtual standard time, so it's already nearly 7:30, and with it beginning as late as it is and it cloudy as it is, we could see it get pretty dark.
Very well could, and what's really important about that is going to be tires. It is going to be very, very chilly here, so drivers are going to have to keep in mind to keep those tire temperatures up. We may see a little bit of overdriving out of some of these GT cars in particular to try to make sure those tire temperatures stay nice and cool, or nice and warm, especially coming in and out of the pits.
And did Paul Darling have an issue? I'm seeing him falling down the order. Oh no, he had a big wreck. He had a big wreck, and once again, it was in turn 3. This time, he can't blame traffic, though. This was all driver error.
Jumping back here to check out the GSRC replay. Here he is coming up behind Billy Smith into turn 1. Lets it around. Nice. A little bit of a wide line there for the DMG United driver, and just rides on the curb. Joe, I think he bottomed out, had no grip, and slammed into the wall.
Yeah, that thing was completely unsteady by the time he should have been hitting the binders. Well, that is good news for Smith as he no longer has the pressure there. As for David Williams, who you see on screen, the 01 is our champion at this stage and is trying to end things on some bragging rights. Of course, I'm sure he's happy to try and take a victory here because last few rounds, it's been De Vries winning 3 out of the last 4.
Yeah, exactly. But credit to David Williams. He has sort of minimized the damage as much as possible and have been able to virtually claim the championship here today. And will indeed, at this point, absolutely have it as De Vries not even racing in the same category.
Chad, down on your end, I feel like today is probably going to be, if Ryan Robertson can bring this home, a much better day for him. He's had, what, I'm looking at about 5 third places and a second place in there, but never a win.
Yeah, he had a streak of about 4 races in a row, consecutive third place finishes. Finally ended that with a second place to keep the podium streak alive. This is his chance at a win with a lot of the guys in front of him or around him in the points racing either in other classes or taking the night off. And the lap traffic, or the faster traffic, actually being very kind to him. Just able to pull out. He was about 7 or 8 tenths of a second faster than Luke Schmidt, the car running second in class a couple of laps ago. So he's able to just make the most of it, catching cars or getting caught by cars at the right time. We've had one retirement in class. That was Kevin O'Keefe. Sean Reese had a connection issue. He's back in the race with no damage to his car, but he is 3 laps down. The rest of the field pretty spread out with the exception of Sherbert and Perry that are about a second apart.
And this is Young Park and Sheldon Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum's going to take 9th. Let's take another look at that pass since we came in a little bit late. And wow, yeah, he already had him set up very early along the backstretch.
Yeah, Joe, I got to think that Young Park there must have had just a little bit of wheel spin coming out of turn 7 as Rosenbaum in that Corvette just smoking by the Porsche.
Now that we've got at least sort of a moment to breathe here, DJ, I want to pick your brain on Binkley versus Booth. Binkley is about half a lap behind Ross right now. That is a huge margin. Is there any way you can see him bringing himself back into the hunt for the championship?
It's going to be very, very tough at this point, Joe. He has been catching hand over fist to the back of the field. He's gotten the gap down to Jerry Muller to about 3 seconds. And I think once he starts to get into the mix of things, he'll be able to work his way forward. But it's going to be very, very tricky. I think the only thing I can think of, we've seen sometimes drivers decide to take tires and not take tires with cooler temperatures. I think the move is to not take tires across the board. And so there's not going to be a way for him to sort of gain some time in the pits. It's going to be very tight.
You can see he's also sporting what looks like a little bit of damage on the nose of that Vet, which is probably not helping his pace at all. Wonder if he'll maybe try and duck in a little bit earlier than normal in hopes of trying to get himself a little more speed. Going back to that fight for the top spot. Jeffrey's starting to lose a little touch. This might be the farthest back we've seen him from Ross.
Yeah, not exactly putting as much pressure to him as possible. Traffic obviously coming into play with that. But Booth is one who is really used to running up in the front and being able to manage pressure. And I think that's just what he's really showing his best at here today, being able to hold off Stephen Jeffrey for as long as he has.
Okay, as we watch the pair of our GTE leaders put another lap down. So far, this has been about as was expected for Road Atlanta, but we're getting close to the pit window now. If anybody wants an early stop, we could see them in. We haven't seen any scheduled stops yet. We have lost a few drivers. Santana, O'Keefe are both gone. Paul Darling has DNF today. Dominic Dornenberg, the other one that has unfortunately hit the showers prematurely.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Joe, I do think as this race goes along and these temperatures continue to dip a little bit, that we will see a few more retirements. Road Atlanta is a track where you really don't have a whole lot to rest on.
This
This
is
is look at the battle between Stifle and Eaton, one of the closest battles in this GT-AM class. They've been fighting hard. Eaton's just been digging lap after lap. Made up, Stifle had a big moment on the last lap as well, about a second and a half made up by Eaton. Now he's just hounding that back wing of Joe Stifle, trying to get the move done for the pit spot.
Yeah, this has been a great run from Stifle here, Chad. He started from 9th on the grid, and considering we've only had one DNF in this class, that's actually a pretty significant jump up in the first 25 minutes.
Yeah, he seemed to really struggle in qualifying, not able to get a solid lap down. But his lap times are up there with some of the faster guys in class. Stifle's fastest lap is a 120.4. Everybody behind him, their fastest lap is 120.6, 120.8. So he's definitely up there in terms of speed. Only 2 guys in class, that's Robertson and Schmidt, have broken the 120 barrier, both of them very low in the 119s.
Eaton putting quite a bit of space between himself, or Stifle putting space between himself and Eaton here now, with about 6/10 separating them. They're going to be lapped by Kevin Binkley back there. And it's always a little bit more awkward between these two GT classes, just not much of a pace difference between them.
Yeah, the pace difference between is about 3 or 4 seconds per lap. Booth, his fastest lap is a 115.6. The fastest lap in the GT-AM is 119.3. So it's just a matter of opportunity, trying to find a way to get around. As now we see 3 wide going down into the turn number 6.
That was Mark Wilson, who found himself just enough space to be able to get through. It's actually less dramatic than what we've seen in the past here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Gonna watch from on board Binkley now as he puts some distance between himself and those GT-AM drivers.
Yeah, this moves him up into 10th place there. He's been able to get around Jerry Mueller. Now he's got about a 15-second gap up the road to Young Park. If he's able to make that up quickly, then this might start coming hand over fist, and we could see a little bit of play coming in. But even then, it's a long road to climb to try to take this championship.
Looks like we got the pass on Mueller. Oh, excuse me. No, this wasn't the pass. This is Mueller getting punted at the chicane. Who was that going into him?
Let's jump back and check another angle here. That looks like one of the Lamborghinis. So that's one of the GT3 cars. Woohoo! That's the 21. That's Eaton.
Yeah, so that separates Stifle and Eaton. They were close together. Looked like a battle was brewing, but Jared's own mistake has now put him out of range.
Another battle that is developing, though, in GT-AM. Sherburne starting to lose a little bit of time to Perry. Perry now in drafting range. So he's got the opportunity, Perry does, to make up time. He made up about 0.4 of a second the last lap, and he's just been slowly closing that gap for the final step on the podium.
I think we may have had our first taker with a scheduled stop. Christopher Pies is coming into his stall just now as we watch some of our GT pros go by that pit lane.
Yeah, that is indeed. Sorry, that is indeed Pies coming in, taking his first scheduled stop.
So, looks like it's pretty standard. 17 seconds. He's in and out and on his way. No real dramas in front of him. That's Dale Green. Now, was that a scheduled stop for Dale? It was about 30 seconds for him.
There was no contact for him on his last lap. The car does not look to have any damage to it. I believe that was an early but scheduled stop. So he's going to commit to the 2-stop strategy early.
All right, so we're seeing a little bit of variance as we take a look at a battle down into the chicane here with Atterbury and Slavonic. And Atterbury's going to lose out on that. No, that's Atterbury and Islam, actually. Islam is the one that'll take 4th place over the 22. They're going to go on by, so no pit stop for either of them this time.
And they've got a whole gaggle of cars up in front of them. That's Tinsey, Robertson, DeVries, and Peterson in all classes. So this battle may not be over exactly right away. They've got to get by Ryan Robertson right here in one of the hardest parts of the track to do so.
Yeah, Yeah, they're going to catch right up to the back of him. Maybe they'll get lucky with a good run off of 5. Ooh, doesn't seem like they're all that close. Good speed for the BMW of Islam. And he's at least going to be able to get to the inside. This will work out great for Mo because he uses that GTM to act as a buffer between himself and Atterbury as Robertson finds himself shoved out of the way into turn 7.
It's a little bit of contact there. I think a little bit of scariness for Robertson, but we're going to check out that replay right now.
Remember, that's our leader in the class, so if you would have taken him out completely, I'm sure that would not have gone down well between the pair of them. Thankfully, everybody continues on to race. Oh, and Park just overtook Rosenbaum. This was for the 7th place. Those two have swapped back and forth a couple times now.
All right, so there we go again, side by side, the two of them. And yeah, that is Young Park using that top speed of the Porsche to his advantage. Very close there from Rosenbaum, almost coming up into the tail of them.
Oh, and Rosenbaum's off. As we came back live, he went off just now, and I'm not sure. I think he avoided the wall, but just barely.
He got very, very lucky on that one. We're going to check out the replay on that as well, Joe. Jumping on board here with Rosenbaum, catches that curb. I think he bottomed out on the top of it again. Good job for car control to keep that thing off the wall, able to keep going, but he is definitely going to lose that gap up to Young Park.
Yeah, that'll put the kibosh on that fight. Park now solidly in 7th place. Now, we haven't looked at this in a bit, but it's been separated for a while. Now it's back on. Williams about half a second ahead of Morad. Behind them, I see Tinsey coming into pit lane. Don't need to go to that, but this looks scheduled.
Yeah, indeed. This gap for the lead was up to about 3 to 3.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. And Morad just slowly but surely pulling Williams back in. Williams getting the advantage of the draft there from that slower Lamborghini on the back straightaway there. Dives to the inside. That'll probably help give him a little bit more of a gap as Morad's going to have to check up through turn 10.
Going to get to the inside of Sherburne. And continues through. Morad will have an easier time taking it flat out through the final turn. Still at 0.9 of a second between them. What's in front? Ooh, it's Kevin Binkley. Binkley has since gone by Pies, who we know took a pit stop, so he'll have to give that position back to him soon enough. And yeah, Williams is going to catch him at a bad place.
Yeah, that's going to help him out a little bit there for Morad. Definitely a little bit of a Morad into the wall!
Big hit to the tires on the exit of 5. I think the curb is going to just bottom it out. And this is becoming a theme here today.
Joe, I think that's not exactly bottoming out. I think he just caught a little bit too much of it, and it upset the balance of the car, and he just got a little tail happy.
Yeah, I think you're right. Watching it on board, it does look like that. Well, he's able to continue on. Maybe he got lucky that it wasn't too bad of damage. In the meantime, oh, Billy Smith and Ryan Wash have pitted, but Smith has jumped Wash.
Oh my goodness gracious, a little bit of a surprise here.
Yeah, 6 seconds quicker in his pit stall for Smith. Both of them with slightly long pit stops.
Very, very interesting pit strategy already starting to play a little bit here. And another one of our leaders, Carter Kundinger, hopping into the pits.
So a lot of the prototypes look limited once again on their pit window, as we're seeing plenty of them come in just barely 4 minutes past the half-hour mark. This is, let's see, Peterson behind him that we're riding on board with. Also entering pit lane, but Williams, Morad, and Haley stay out. So does Cancian. So we're only waiting on 4 of our prototype drivers to take their stops. In fact, Williams is just about to lap some of the back of the fields in the prototypes as he also gets held up by Ryan Robertson. And he's coming in.
He is indeed. Now the question is going to be, that is indeed Morad behind him. Morad able to keep that gap down to about 1.6 seconds, but able to get a better pit lane entry and cut it down to 0.4. The only problem, Morad's inevitably going to have some damage to repair on that car.
Yeah, well, it looks like he'll make up at least some of the time with an aggressive pit entry that paid dividends. Bradley Haley also coming in. I think this is the end of the pit window. So what are these stops going to look like for Williams and Morad now that they've hit their stalls? Both of them taking service. Doesn't look like either. Well, we have to wait on tires, I believe.
One thing we haven't talked about, by the way, Joe, is this pit entry here is very difficult. You're coming down the hill off the final, or off that long back straightaway in chicane. Then it's a very sharp right-hander with a wall right there. If you get the pit entry just wrong, you could damage your car just trying to come in for a pit stop.
No tires for either of those two. And they come out almost at the same time. And look at that, Morad is quick. In fact, Morad is already trying to attack. Contact between them, and Williams is sent off. He manages to keep out of the wall. Daniel is slowing up.
Oh my goodness, and Morad coming over the radio right now to apologize for that. Looks like there may have been a little bit of ghost contact in between the two of them.
Wow. He was trying to find that inside line and just didn't pull it over enough. So Morad is going to give him the spot back, but what this has done is given Smith the lead because he has taken his pit stop, and it's quicker than both of theirs. And with them slowing up, they've handed that over to the 901.
They have indeed. Billy Smith now having a gap of about 3.5 seconds over Williams. Williams does have the speed in that car. He's just got to hope that he didn't take too much damage from that clash with Morad.
Mo Islam side by side once again with Joey Atterbury, another of our IMSA drivers out on the track. Atterbury around the outside of the first apex. Can he maybe use the inside of the second one with that shorter line to make it stick? It looks like it. He covers off Islam, blocking his momentum. And Dornenberg, who's a lap down behind them, is unfortunately stuck behind both of them as well. But he is the teammate to Islam, or to Dornenberg here, or to Islam rather. Whoa! And who was that off track? That was Dale Green.
Now Green off track, pointing the wrong direction in that blue and white Lamborghini, finally getting it all round back up. Let's check out the replay, Joe.
How did he wind up there? Looks like he spun. Wow. Oh, wow. This was a wild moment for a couple drivers. Jason DeVries, Daniel Morad, David Williams, and Ryan Wash all nearly made contact with him.
Yeah, he started turning in too early and then had to correct, and it just upset the back of that car, sending him around. Great job from everybody getting around him, with one car taking to the grass, getting through clean. But that was a scary moment there. Dale Green had already made his pit stop.
And Morad and Williams are going to swap places potentially. No, Morad's still back in third. David leading in front of him. The battle continues, and I'm sure Billy Smith will love this if they start holding each other up. So will Ryan Wash. He's the prototype behind them for the VRS team, running only half a second back.
The words out of my mouth, Joe. Ryan Wash, a big gainer from that, but he's going to be held up ever so slightly by Kevin Binkley, and that's Wash off.
Yeah, he was put offline by Binkley, who was not expecting it and had to take to the escape road. This was ambitious stuff. If we watch on board, he had barely a car's width there. Whoa.
And one thing to remember, he is not used to having that much speed, being the faster class. He's been running the GTM all season long, of course, and man, he, maybe just a little too ambitious making that move, not used to being in that situation.
Ooh, looks like Islam Atterbury is in. Did Islam miss his pit stall, though? Yeah, he did. Islam missed it by a mile. He had to back up at least 2 pit stalls to get there. So he is going to be absolutely destroyed in the pit stops. And you can see the drivers he was fighting are already long gone.
They are indeed. Joey Atterbury already going out of the pits as Mo Islam finally coming out now. 23 seconds stationary in the box. That's normal, but that 45 in overall. Oy, 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 that is deadly for Mo Islam.
And Morad
Huge development here in GTM. Ryan Robertson, it looks like he took tires. He had a 41-second pit stop, much longer, about 10 to 12 seconds longer than everybody else in class. He is the fourth car now to come in with Robertson, Schmidt, Eaton, and Perry all pitting as well.
Watching the fight for the lead in the pit stops, I can also tell you that Morad got past Williams. And Jeffrey, much quicker. Did he save fuel riding behind the 03?
I think he might have a little bit there, Joe, or maybe he decided to take a little bit of a short fuel on this one and go long on that last stint that he'll have to do. Either way, time will tell.
So the lead now goes to the number 11 in the GT Pro class. Also, I wanted to get in about that fight between Morad and Williams. Williams complaining about lacking top end. I suspect a little bit of damage on that car has cost him some overall speed.
It might have a little bit, but picking his way through the traffic there like a pro, Daniel Morad. Still able to keep as much as he can, but the gap growing up to David Williams.
Yeah, that was Eaton and Park, who Park was already on track. Eaton was coming out of pit lane. You know, you talked about the pit entry here, Chad. The pit exit as well. I've seen so many horrible wrecks come out of that one.
Yeah, the elevation changes really make things interesting, especially on cold tires. Takes some time to get used to. You need to practice that a lot more here than you do at some other tracks. But these guys have done a great job both entering and exiting and blending into traffic well as well.
So looks like we won't see any magic one-stop races for our GT3s because I see everybody having taken their stops and we're not even close to the halfway mark. Big action here for the lead in the GT Pros. Booth may have gotten jumped in the pit stops, but he's eager to try and correct that as he's already applying pressure to the 11.
He very much is, and that's David Perry right up the road there in the GT AM category. Jeffrey's going to hope he can clear him before the time they get to turn 6. Indeed, he does. He's able to get by. A little bit of a compromised line into the corner, but this may hold up Booth behind him even more, and indeed it does. Slows him down on the apex off of turn 7, and that's going to cost him some time.
We get a little bit of the slipstream from the 595, but that's little consolation to the 03. Looks like the battle for second in our GTM is starting to ripen. Schmidt holding off Sherburne, about half a second between the pair of them, both running Ferraris today.
Yeah, and coming out of the pit stops as well made that very interesting. Sherburne pitted one lap earlier. One lap later, and he's got a lap fresher tires, but at the same time, he's just kind of doing everything he can to get that spot and kind of work his way up through the field. These guys are about 6 seconds behind Robertson, who got his lead back, even after taking a 10-second longer pit stop.
Impressive stuff. Shows you the pace that Ryan has when he's not being, unfortunately, overshadowed by Wash and his pace that he's had in the latter half of the season. The two Ferraris now out onto the far edge of the track, getting to the highest point as they climb up out of turn 7 onto the back stretch. They're going to be overtaken by Stefan Jeffrey. That battle still close in the lead for the GT Pros, but about 8/10 apart between those vets.
Yeah, that gap definitely expanding a little bit, and that traffic up there is definitely not going to help that at all. Jeffrey able to clear up by the time they get into the braking zone, and it's really going to hold up Ross Booth again. He is just falling victim to that slower GT Pro traffic left, right, and center.
Sometimes the racing gods smile on you in that traffic, but it's a roll of the dice. Now he's able to get at least one of them and both of them down into turn 1.
Able to clear it there, and he's going to breathe a big sigh of relief. Ryan Robertson, the next car up the road from them, about 5.5 seconds there, so he's going to have a little bit of time to try to put some moves on Stefan Jeffrey and close that 1 second gap down.
While we got some time, let's take a look at our championship challenger. Well, he's our points leader coming into things, Kevin Binkley, but how things are going right now. it's not looking good for him. The 75 is up to 9th place. He's actually catching Mo Islam, so that mistake that Mo had in the pits is certainly a boon for Kevin Binkley. But after his pit stop, it looks like if he did get repairs done to that car, they're not showing very well because it looks about the same on that nose as it was before.
Yeah, it does look a little crinkled, but it's not really hurting his overall lap time all that much. His fastest lap, still relatively competitive with some of the guys around him and with running all of the traffic that he has. He has been able to move his way up to 9th and is closing in on the drives in front of him.
Now, another driver has been able to make use of getting through the GTE field, and that is Paul Slavonic in the 528. Started from 10th. He is up to P5 right now. The bad news is he's got 15 seconds to make up to get to Jason DeVries, and he's starting to feel a little bit of pressure from a Porsche you can see in his rear view camera, and that is Young Park.
Yeah, Park's starting to put a little bit of pressure here on him. Obviously, getting out earlier and being able to move on from that battle from Mo Islam certainly helping him out. Got a 5-second gap back to Joey Atterbury, so Park is just focused on that 528 right ahead of him.
We watch from the rear wing from Paul Slavonic looking back at Park. They're going to get held up a little bit, big time actually, more than just a little. That's Dale Green, but trying to find the right side. Young Park unfortunately wagered wrong, and he is not going to be able to carry his momentum to attack on Slavonic. He might get another bite of the apple down the back stretch if he can get the exit. It's looking decent. I don't know if it's enough though.
It may not be. I don't think he's going to be able to pull the big draft here unless he's able to get really, really late on the binders going down into turn 10. They make their way down the hill here. He's getting closer, but not close enough is Young Park. He's going to have to wait another day if he wants to make the pass into turn 10.
Ooh, and he was very deep down into that chicane as well, so he lost a tenth or two in the process. Just past the halfway point, if you're just joining us, the season finale for the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge sees Billy Smith leading after the first stops in the prototypes, with Jeffrey leading in the GT Pros and Ryan Robertson leading in the GTMs. We've had a change for the lead in the top two classes, but not the GTMs. That one has remained the same.
And that battle for second that we were looking at in the GTMs, Luke Schmidt able to open up about a 2-second gap, 3-second gap on Chris Sherburne. So that battle settled itself out after their pit stops. David Perry about 4 seconds behind Sherburne for that final step of the podium.
Yeah, the GTMs seem to just not be able to find many fights here, at least direct fights on the track. Oh, well, David Williams, despite complaining about not having any top-end speed, just set another fastest lap of the race, a full 10th quicker than Morad's fastest.
Yeah, and look how close he is up behind Daniel Morad as they make their way out of turn 5. Bad run there for Morad. This may be a chance for Williams. Almost giving him a little bit of a bump draft going into turn 6. Decides not to make anything of it. It's now going to all come down to the exit here out of turn 7. Both cars a little bit off the apex, but good power down. Williams going to be in prime contention to take advantage of that draft, and indeed starts to poke his nose out.
Oh, no, he's going to push him. This might go back to what Williams was saying before. He thinks that Morad has better top end. He wants to try and catch Smith potentially. No, he's going to try and go to the inside. A big blink there for Morad. Thankfully, they don't make contact. They're getting oh so close. I don't know how they didn't touch out of there. Oh, and a pick. Unfortunately, as they come up to the back of Jared Eaton, denies Williams the chance to seal the deal.
And I thought for a second there, Joe, there was a little bit of contact in between the two of them, just a little bit of wobble there out of Morad, and thought it may have been a little bit of a fender maneuver accidentally from Williams, but these two racing so clean, so professionally, and just putting on a clinic out here today.
Well, I said he was the professional. Daniel Morad showing why he's got a real-world ride. But, oh, man, that's about the third time that I've seen that 70 look like it's getting very loose over the curbs through turn 5. Eventually, that could bite him.
Yeah, it very well could. This car could just absolutely step out on him at a moment's notice if he is not careful. Looks like he's got it under control for the moment, but as we continue to go on in this race, who knows what'll happen.
The 70 now back ahead of David Williams, and David trying to reel him in. I think, no, it was after. I was just going to say, I wonder if Williams got repairs during the pit stop, but the contact happened right after the pit stop, so he's got to wait. Well, as he threads the needle to the inside of Joe Stifle out of the final turn. He's got to wait until that next stop if he is able to get any repairs. Next up is Mo Islam. Ooh, and this is a really bad place. There's all that gap right back for David Williams.
Yeah, right back to where it was. Let's see if he's able to take advantage of it now. Again, through turn 5. Wider line there for Morad, taking a lot of that curb. And I think Williams is trying to be a little bit smart here. Whoa, almost goes for a crossover there into turn 6.
Almost thought we would see the payback. Williams potentially tipping Morad off this time. These two don't like to drive like that. That is just not their style. So if it did happen, I do not think it would be intentional, but they are not afraid to get within inches of one another. This is Binkley and trying to force him to the outside once again, nearly making contact as the wheels almost rub. They are going to make contact this time, and he does go off, and they're going to get tipped as a big hit into Binkley as Morad has affected the GT Pro Championship.
Oh my goodness gracious, and now a little bit of anger coming out over the radio on this as these two were fighting with each other. Williams able to get back on the way right now.
Wow. Wow. Morad is... And, oh yeah, the two of them are bickering, and that's not going to go over well with the stewards. They've been warned before this race. So Binkley is still rolling. He lost one spot to Mo Islam. And there's the 01 into pit lane. And Morad as well. Morad has called it a day, so he is not going to take another victory this season. And I definitely don't think Williams will either. So Smith has a very realistic chance at finally getting that win.
He does indeed. Oh, but as we say it, he goes off there, and that's going to hurt his gap a little bit, and off through turn 10, and a big puff of smoke in front of him. I think somebody else went off as well.
That was Luke Schmidt. That was
Luke Schmidt from second place, just lost it in the final corner. Back end came around, nudged the inside wall, and there's a lot of damage to the left side of that.
This is more than a nudge. This is a lot more than a nudge. He had to take a tow, and you'll see why. It was already way wide coming out of turn 10. And we saw what back in the background, that was the incident that we just caught half of with Billy Smith. There is the monstrous hit into the inside wall for Luke Schmidt. Just incredible developments here. Smith, I think, did he actually have contact in that run through the chicane, or did he get away with that clean?
Not entirely sure, Joe. Looking at the car, I think he's able to escape relatively cleanly. We're going to jump back to a replay here to double check, though. This is him coming down the hill into the chicane. That incident's going to develop right in front of him.
Okay, he had to take to off-road because it was Perry Park and Slavonic coming together. Woo! Whoa!
Wow. That's an incredible move.
Note to self, let's stop talking about how good Billy Smith is doing for a while. 37 minutes left to go for him. But he is leading the race. Wash is about 9.6 seconds behind. This is not over. Road Atlanta is dishing up its usual unpredictability.
It is indeed. We're going to jump back here, though. This is DeVries and Pies getting into a little bit of a scrap here as they are in a heavy draft. A couple of prototypes trying to get around them on the outside.
This is for the last step on the podium. DeVries taking that VRS satellite machine up to the back of Pies, and as he pokes his nose out, he fancies a chance. I didn't think he was close enough for that, and he didn't get the overlap.
Yeah, couldn't get it done there, but rest assured, Jason DeVries is a very aggressive driver. We've seen him go absolutely mega before. Maybe thinking about a move down into turn 1. Indeed, he's going to poke his nose to the inside. There he goes, tries to hold it on.
As the two of them get through the corner, Pies comes out victorious and takes that third place back away from DeVries yet again. Jason really wants this one, though. They're going to come up through turn 5. A good exit here sometimes offers a sneak attack into 6, but they're not going to see it this time through. DeVries probably trying to set himself up for the backstretch.
I think he is as well. Getting down onto the binders into turn 7. Let's see what this Corvette can do. Good exit for both cars. Only about a car length and a half in between them. That should be enough for DeVries to be able to take advantage of the draft if he's good enough on the binders in that Corvette.
As he starts to pull in, he could have something here. How aggressive does he want to be? Last time he really tried from far back on Pies, and he's going to try from even farther back, it seems, as he manages to get beside him this time and slips through. DeVries is now on the podium in the GT Pros, and that is the sign for Pies to take an early stop like he did last time. So he'll try an alternate strategy. As this is happening, I got a message in the background from the DNF'd Brian Bennett apologizing to Kevin Binkley for the contact. Felt pretty upset with himself over that one after coming back from quite a vacation from the series for some time. He did not want his return to go that way.
Just an update down in GTM after Luke Schmidt's contact from second place. That gives Sherburne the second spot and Perry third. But there are no cars with none of those top 3 are within 10 seconds of each other. Sherburne 10 seconds off Robertson, Perry 15 seconds behind Sherburne.
For reference, Pies just came out in 7th. And and who was that in the background? Into the wall! Somebody's smacking into it. That's Sean Reese. How in the world did that happen? I think he touched the grass. He's trying to get over because he's got a whole lot of traffic coming up. Ooh, and that was very close there with DeVries. Yeah, it looks like he touched the grass and that veered him off at high speed, almost reminiscent of the hit that we saw with both Stroll and Verstappen this weekend. Well, up at the front of the GT Pros, or GTMs rather, he might as well be a pro the way he's racing today. Ryan Robertson, a long ways ahead of the next car back, Chris Sherburne.
Yeah, he's not put a tire wrong. He, of course, had some contact from behind from one of the GT Pros earlier in the race. I believe that might have been why his first stop took a little bit longer than everybody else's. We mentioned it was about a 10 or 11 second longer stop than anybody else in the class. So he got that damage, looks like, repaired. He's still setting some of the fastest laps. He does have the fastest lap in class right now at a 119.3.
Which is a decent margin over the next car back, if I'm seeing correctly. 19.572. No, it looks like actually Schmidt has it with a 19. But we saw Schmidt have a serious problem earlier, so not sure if he'll be allowed to claim that fastest lap. Well, no, he won't claim the fastest lap because Robertson has it. I was going to say, I don't know if they can claim the fastest lap if they DNF. So, Jeffrey and Booth, let's look at our leaders in the GT Pros. Booth back by close to a second, but he's keeping the hopes alive for a victory to claim this championship. It, of course, is not over. He could still lose to Kevin Binkley, but it's not looking good considering Binkley is actually close to being lapped by Booth.
Yeah, he is, and that is for sure going to scupper any chance he has, not that it's already gone, of holding on to that championship. Ross Booth, though, continuing to close down here on Stephen Jeffrey the best he can. Jeffrey able to hold that gap to about a second right now, although it has seesawed here and there.
Again, this makes me wonder, does Booth potentially maybe just want to ride this one out, knowing that he's got such a margin over his rival to just claim the victory, the championship. And it appears that Billy Smith, our leader in the prototypes, has come in. Now, this could be significant, guys. Remember, he had a very short stop compared to his rivals in the first stop here. So will this one be a longer one to make up for it?
Well, we'll see. Waiting for him to go at this point. Looking at the times, remember, about 29 seconds, 30 seconds is what we are used to. Clicking over 25 right now.
Wow.
Short stop.
Two very fast stops, 26 seconds. So maybe it was just that he split it more evenly compared to the others.
Very well could be. We check back here on Ryan Wash, though, as he takes over second place in this race. Only about a half a second back of Carter Kundinger, who is in the lead. That's Kundinger right ahead. We ride on board with Wash.
We've watched him many a time on board as the GT-AM leader, but now in the prototype Podium. Let's see what his handling looks like from inside the car.
Pretty smooth hands there, straightening out the wheel, a little bit of counter steer. Watch how he handles this turn two. Absolutely perfect. Very, very precise motions. That's how you've got to take it. Now let's see how he handles. I believe that's DeVries up ahead of him. Ooh, you can see him having to counter it through there a little bit. Gets back onto the power and flies right by.
Lost a little time to Kundinger, but don't think he's too worried about that at this stage. Up next for them is Stefan Jeffrey. Kundinger's already passed, and now it's an easy pass down the backstretch for Ryan Wash. Less than a third of the race left to go. Who else will we see come in early? Well, the answer to that is Mark Wilson. He just came in.
Let's see here. Kundinger and Wash are both electing to stay out. Kundinger having to work his way through some slower traffic. There goes Wash on by 1-2. Wow, look at that time he was able to gain.
It is very much a traffic reading day out here. We've seen drivers make huge gains or lose them depending on how they want to play their cards through the traffic. Continues to hound our current leader, but most likely second place runner until we see these second stops play out, unless somebody can really pull a wild one over the other and use strategy to leapfrog them. Ooh, he's getting awful close this time.
Yeah, he is. He may be able to pull a little bit of a draft move here. We'll have to see how late Wash is on these brakes. Now, remember, the brakes in these LMP2s very different than those GTMs, and there he goes.
So, as they go on by, Kundinger still ahead of Wash, but not by much. Oh, and a car off track. That's Mueller from our GT Pros. Don't need to go to it. It looks like a single car incident out of the chicane.
Yeah, they're going to continue on this path here, and apologies for that excitement. I lost track of which car was which there as they were coming down. I thought that was Wash making the move. Interesting, Wash takes a little bit of a more narrow line there coming out of turn one. It definitely costs him a little bit of time, but it does better set him up for the run here. Whew, aggressive line there through the S's. Wash just trying to apply all kinds of pressure to Carter Kundinger ahead of him.
Last time he looked very close on the backstretch. Can he get it any closer, maybe? Use that slipstream to try and overtake. They've also got traffic in front of them. Leif Peterson within their own class, who just pitted, along with both of the GT classes, Mo Islam and Jared Eaton. They're not racing for position. I think he's going to get Eaton, but I don't think he's going to get Islam.
No, I don't think he is either, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Wash is going to be offline coming into the corner, but there in the second part of the chicane, that's going to slow down Kundinger a little bit. He's going to have to go offline through the final corner to try to get past Mo Islam, and a little bit of a better run there slightly for Ryan Wash, but still very squirrely, taking a lot of curb.
Still haven't seen hardly anybody else come in. We mentioned Wilson and Peterson have taken stops. Young Park, meanwhile, in the GT Pros, is complete for his pit stops. He can make it to the end from here. let's see, Christopher Pies has taken his second stop. See, nobody else in the GT Pros who has. However, we've got Bob the Blade in for his second stop.
Indeed, the warm-up lap driver comes to a stop. Oh, missed his box. That's going to call. Missed it even more. A terrible stop for Robert Tinsey.
Yeah, he's unfortunately going to have to give up a few positions, I think, from that mistake. Oh, and the lead is looking a little bit antsy right now because they're going by Leif Peterson, trying to put a lap on him around the outside, coming through the final corner. Ryan Wash, once again, not getting the rub of the green as he tries to overtake cars that he's not in a battle with.
No, very suspect behavior there, I have to say, a little bit from Leif.
Hey, Kundinger just made contact with Paul Slavonic. Side to side into turn 3. Wash is now right on top of him. How much damage is on the O2 because of that?
I'm not sure, but Kundinger did come over the radio and apologize and say he just misjudged that point. So now we are back at the same position we have been. Wash chasing him down. Who can get the run off of 7? Looks like they both got a little bit of a better apex than the last time we checked in on them here. Start to get the power down.
As they head towards the chicane, it's looking good for Wash. I think Kundinger lost a little straight line speed as he pokes his nose down to the inside. He's got the overlap into the chicane. He is past. Give Ryan Wash the lead, but we don't think it'll be the overall lead until the pit stops are done. In fact, he comes in for his right now.
All right, probably a good call for him there. Knows he wasn't going to be getting the advantage of the draft down the back straightaway. So here he comes on into the pits, waiting on that interminably slow pit speed limiter.
Now remember, he was chasing Billy Smith as well. So as Ryan takes his service, I expect Smith to go by because I don't think it was close enough, and especially with Ryan battling with Carter. Probably was running a little bit slower laps there. Smith now coming through the final turn as we take a look at Slavonic. How much damage does he have as well?
Yeah, I think he definitely got a pretty hard lap there. Looking at the car, doesn't look too bad. Not a lot of handling issues that I can tell. Able to get that car around, and I can also report Ryan Wash out and on his way. That is a 25-second stop for him.
But he is well behind Billy Smith. It's about a 10-second difference between the pair of them. So it's not looking like Wash is able to get a maiden win in his first time in the prototypes.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have a lot of work to do with the speed we've seen out of Billy Smith. I don't think he's going to be able to do that anytime soon. But then again, Joe, I will say if anybody can do it, it will be Ryan Wash.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He is certainly a quick driver. Sorry, Chad, go ahead.
Don't forget, Wash has won 6 races in a row, all in GTM, of course. That's also with 2 wins and a second place just before that as well. So he's won 8 out of the last 9 in his class. He's got some work to do if he wants to keep that streak alive.
Looks like Atterbury's pitted. Carter Kundinger. All right, now this one is interesting because Wash should be in a fight with him, and Carter's rolling. Wash is now coming past the start-finish line. Is Carter going to beat him out? This is going to be very, very close. He's got him. Oh, after overtaking him on the track, Ryan has got to do that work all over again.
Oh, that's got to be heartbreaking. Woo, and a very scary moment there for Ryan Wash, as that was Sheldon Rosenbaum having a big lockup through the top of the corner. And now it looks like up ahead, a little bit of good news for Ryan Wash. Carter Kundinger running into a little bit of traffic.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needs right now to hopefully cut down that gap, give him a chance in these last 22 minutes to try and get back with him. Look at these skies light up almost with fire as the sun sets over Georgia. And it's starting to get pretty dark here in and amongst the trees as the shadows get longer. And we're losing yet more drivers as attrition has reared its ugly head at Road Atlanta. We mentioned a few of them before. We've since lost DeVries, as well as David Williams and Daniel Morad. Sean Reese can be added to that list too.
And this is your LMP2 leader as of the moment. This is Bradley Haley, the driver of the 4284 Gone Broke Racing, getting in a couple of good leading laps here. Still has to make his pit stop. However, his last stop did come back on lap 30, and we are working lap 58. So I have to imagine he will be coming in very shortly.
Yeah, this seems like the very edge of the window, and he's been stretching it as far as he can. There it is, which means Smith should be getting back up to the front. Ooh, really hustling that car through the chicane into the pit lane, trying to make up as much time as possible. Where is Haley going to come out now?
That's going to be an interesting thing to see here. I would imagine he may come out somewhere in the vicinity of Robert Cancian, potentially, but there he is holding in the box.
Smith is just coming around the final corner. I don't know. I think Wash might see him come out near him. There goes Smith getting the lead back. Kundinger just coming across the line. Wash following him. Haley finishing up on his way, and he will be just a couple seconds behind Ryan Wash. So if they get some traffic that is undesirable, it is not out of the question that Haley could fight for a second place.
Gerber safely into the pit lane from the second position in GTM into his box, gets it stopped just in time. And he's going to take some fuel, and should be his last stop of the race.
So we're still waiting for a number of others. I see Dale Green has been in and out, but I think Dale had an incident, so I'm not sure if his second one will be able to take him to the end. Let's see, when did he... No, he pitted 5 laps ago, so he actually should be good. Sherburne's done and rolling, but he has to get to the cones, which looks like it takes forever. Now he's finally on his way. Should actually return in third. Such is the monstrous gaps between our GT field.
Yeah, it was a huge gap. It was about 15 seconds from Robertson to Sherburne before the stop, and then from Sherburne to Perry was another 15 seconds. So these guys definitely doing everything they can just to run clean laps, stay out of trouble. The top 3 basically have their positions locked up.
Well, that makes our closest battle now between first and second in the GT Pros. Jeffrey and Booth less than a second apart from one another. And it's been this way for much of the race, except for a good chunk of it, it was in the reverse order.
Indeed it was, but there you see Booth continuing to keep the pressure on. This has been a pretty consistent battle. It's ebbed and flowed with traffic, but I have to give credit to both of these drivers. They both run pretty clean, pretty consistent races, and just absolutely pushed each other to the brink.
Especially considering that after nearly 90 minutes, both of them have been able to keep this close. That tells you how tight their pace is to one another. Up and under the bridge, they start lap 57 here at Road Atlanta. Less than 20 minutes to go on the clock. That championship fight looks all but over. Kevin Binkley is... it looks like, well, he's yet to take his second stop. He's in 6th, so he's going to be shifted downwards probably to about 8th or 9th.
Yeah, and there you can see with the added marbles getting thrown up onto the car and the more damage he has sustained, that car is very, very beat up here. A valiant effort from the 75 here today, but this was just doomed from corner 1 for him.
Ooh, Ross Booth is right behind Jeffrey. He might get a slipstream. They're coming onto the backstretch, and he was close enough he could almost touch the rear bumper of Stefan Jeffrey. He's starting to reel him in down the backstretch. The 11 is under threat. Can Booth get this done into the final chicane? He's looking for it. He's going to try and outbrake him. He can't get the overlap, and Jeffrey shuts the door.
This battle continuing to heat up here, and that attempted move there from Ross Booth going to cost him a little bit of time, I think. Yeah, the gap growing out to about 0.3 of a second right here, but he's going to be able to stay in the slipstream. He's just got to keep everything nice and together. You see just how wide of a line Jeffrey's taking there into turn one, kicking up a little bit of dirt as they rise up the hill.
If you're Booth, DJ, do you think I should pit early? I should go alternate strategy just to see if I can get something out of it? Because, I mean, he's got, let's see, it looks like a minute back to Paul Slavonic behind him. There is no threat from behind.
No, very much so. And, you know, I think Booth here, he's weighing between the instincts of a driver that you want to win, and he's also weighing the fact that he can take the championship very, very easily. He also has to know that it is a big gap back to Kevin Binkley, so as long as he doesn't do anything too crazy, he'll still probably be able to maintain the championship.
David Perry comes in from second place in GTM. He does have some damage from the earlier contact that he was involved in, so he's got probably some repairs that he's going to have to take. And by the way, just an update on Ross Booth. He does stream his races on Twitch. I just took a peek in there, and he is actually interacting with chat in the middle of this battle. That's something incredible. These guys can focus on two things at once.
That is pretty wild. So we ride on board with him. Also want to note, let's keep the cameras here, but, oh, and Smith just got overtaken by Kundiger. When did Kundiger catch him? Smith, he had a problem through turn 5. He didn't hit anything. There it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Just took too much of that exit curb and got him off. Let's ride on board here with Billy Smith as he comes down right now. There you see, gets that bobble, comes up over, and the car just gets loose. Maybe a little bit of bottoming out again. But Joe, we've got to jump back live because this battle is still active.
Yeah, he's trying to get it back. And we have not seen a win for either of these drivers this season as Carter Kundiger around the outside of turn 1. It's going to take a brave person to make this one stick, and the car doesn't have it in him. Now, this brings Ryan Wash into the mix. It is a three-way fight for the win, with all of them never having taken a win this season in the prototypes.
This is going to be a three-way fight to the finish. Billy Smith, I think his blood is going to be up. He's made a couple of mistakes here that have really robbed him of the chance to sail away from this very easily. So Kundiger is going to know that. He is going to really be trying to push as hard as he can to see if he can force Billy Smith into another mistake. Ryan Wash, however, is just a fantastic driver. And let's not forget about Bradley Haley, only about 1.2 seconds back there. You can see him in the yellow and white cresting over the hill.
And also you could see Smith weaving, trying to break the slipstream from Kundiger and Wash. This series just never seems to disappoint. Who would have thought that we'd have a race for the victory after 90 minutes? And it's not even for anybody who started on the front row of this race. Oh, down the front stretch, Billy Smith does not look quick in a straight line.
Oh, this is the GTE battle we've been following. That looks like Ross Booth has got his advantage, able to fly out in the draft. He's going to be on the inside. It's going to be a battle of the brakes coming down into turn 10. Jeffrey's a little bit later, but locks it up.
Shook him into a mistake. Jeffrey off course will lose a chunk of time. Booth is immediately hits afterwards.
Oh, they both dive into the pits there. I wouldn't be surprised on that, but we're going to jump back up to that battle for the lead. Working their way through traffic right now. That is Dale Green that they are coming around. Billy Smith continues to lead with Kundiger and Wash right behind.
Did Smith get some sort of damage with his off track? He's right now struggling to hold back Kundiger, who is just reeling him in every long straightaway. He runs out of it before he hits the brakes at the chicane, but he gets tantalizingly close, and Wash is unfortunately going to slip out from under himself as he loses time trying to accelerate out of that final braking zone.
Indeed, Kundinger there trying to see if he can wheel anything up on Billy Smith. Again, Smith taking a narrower line there up through turn 1. They come down into turn 2. There we see as they're coming out of the pits, that was that battle we were following before. That's Jeffrey far behind Booth. Long stop for Jeffrey.
Ooh, what happened there?
Robertson's working his way out of the pits as well. He's going to maintain the lead by a considerable margin. Man, that was a very long stop for the 11.
There you see the difference. Huh. Well, we'll have to try and figure out what caused such a huge discrepancy between them. Also,
it was tires, Joe. Stephen Jeffrey took tires.
Ooh. Oh, will that do anything? I mean, he's only got 12 minutes to use them. That seems very late for that sort of move.
I have to agree. It seems late and it seems a little uninformed. I'm not sure I like it with his temperatures as cold as they are, 72 degrees on track right now. It's going to take him a minute to get those tires working up to a good operating temperature. And I think by the time he's got him going, that Booth is going to be too far down the road.
Ooh, being held up. Billy Smith finds himself under attack as Kundinger also can't get through in time. Ross Booth, he doesn't want to tip this car over into the walls. That is our leader and potential champion and the GT Pros. He'll get by successfully, and look at him rock up to the back of the rear wing of the 901. Once again, he couldn't do anything with Mo Islam in the way. Tries to cover him off, almost pushes him into the grass. It's getting a little bit feisty.
It is getting very, very feisty. Kundinger having to back off a little bit through there. Oi, 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 with Kanchan now making a power behind. But it looks like that Billy Smith was able to get a little bit of a better jump off of the line on turn 7. Going to be able to carry some more speed down the straight. I think he is going to be able to hold him off here, but I may be wrong. Kanchan's closing.
I don't know. It seems like Carter's been so quick, and now Smith feels the urge to try and cover the inside line. They've now got Dornenberg almost pushing him out of the corner. Carter Kundinger. Looks like that car has incredible traction.
Yeah, it really does. And there, Billy Smith popping out to the inside to get around traffic. Kundinger staying right behind him. Oh, they're almost going to bang doors coming down into turn 1.
Stifle trying to get out of the way. And a little bit of a peek from Kundinger, but he can't quite make it stick behind them. You're getting glimpses of Wash and Haley, who are also fighting for third. Oh, and contact between Eaton and Smith, and that's going to send almost all 4, yes, all 4 of our leaders in the prototypes involved in this accident.
Oh my goodness gracious, the only one who was able to get away looked like it was Carter Kundinger, but we're going to be able to jump back and check out this replay. Joe, this was insanity.
Kundinger escaped narrowly. Look at this. Just makes contact, being too eager. He knew he had to make that position. Unbelievable escape from Carter Kundinger for what looks like will give him a victory, and poor Ryan Wash unfortunately had to take a tow. Smith is able to continue, and Haley is as well. Tinsey gets promoted to 4th because of that incredible schmozzle.
We're going to jump here because this battle doesn't look like it's over. Billy Smith and Bradley Haley able to keep going on the track, and they're only within about 0.3 of a second of each other. So this battle for the final steps on the podium still very much in play.
So as we ride on board with the Comet, seeing if he could get himself into 2nd now, and Smith has got to have some damage after that contact. But Haley also, I think, made a little bit of a touch with the car. I didn't quite see exactly how hard it was. He's going to try and chase him down as they go by. Mo Islam holds off to the right side.
Yeah, Haley actually came into the back of Billy Smith when he was spun in the middle of the track, so maybe just a little bit of front end damage to him. So both cars definitely suffering a little bit, but here they come onto the backstretch. Now that is your GTE leader, Ross Booth, right ahead of them. This is going to help out Billy Smith as he's going to be able to take the draft off of that Corvette.
Yep, that looks like that certainly kept him alive. And he's only got to do it for 7 more minutes. Oh, a big lockup from Haley. That'll certainly help Smith. The lights start to flicker on here on the cars as the sun is far enough down that they now need their headlights to navigate this track. What an insane race this has been. We saw Williams go out. We saw Morad go out, both from the lead. Now Billy Smith losing the lead as well with a wreck, and Kundinger is the one that gets to inherit.
Absolutely bananas, Joe, and it is exactly what Road Atlanta promises every time we come here, and it's exactly what Road Atlanta delivers every time we come here.
Haley lost so much in that exchange. He is a full 1.5 seconds behind, unfortunately. So let's take a look at Ross Booth. A full 17.8 seconds ahead of Stephen Jeffrey now. He is just about home free if he can keep this thing out of trouble. Around this place, we're seeing it's easier said than done.
Very much so. You can rest assured that he is going to be tiptoeing the best he can with that 16-second lead. He can afford to back off a little bit coming around some GT AM cars and works his way down the hill right now. Joe, I'm going to go out on record and say that may be one of the few undamaged cars still running out here on the circuit today.
It really is. This is just something to behold. Same thing with Ryan Robertson, but I think he had a little bit of contact. I wouldn't be surprised if that diffuser had the tiniest bit of damage. Remember, he got punted from behind. Otherwise, he's been able to make his own road today, a full 0.5 minute ahead of Christopher Sherburne to finally break that duck. Oh, and traffic once again delivers, bringing Haley into Smith.
Ooh, and Billy Smith very far off the apex there coming through turn 7. I would have thought that would have given Bradley Haley a little bit better of a run, but not really able to close up as much as I thought. Start to get up to speed, though, here. Haley's speed advantage starting to take over. Smith doing his best to break the draft.
Covers off the inside briefly, comes back to the racing line. Haley's there. If he wants it, he could try and get aggressive and attack. So far, though, there's been so much happening. Does he simply want to try and consolidate a podium, a 3rd place, as Smith leaves the door open in 1, but Haley can't take it?
Well, and I have to say there from Haley, seeing all the mistakes that we've seen Billy Smith make here today, I've got to think Bradley is just kind of thinking about poking his nose out there to see if he can force another one out of the driver of the 901. But now they're going to come up on Young Park here, 4th in that GT Pro category. So that's going to present another challenge to him. So let's see. Oh, yeah, and that's at a really unfortunate place for Smith. A little contact as Haley wasn't expecting the checkup. Yeah, not at all. That really is going to slow him off a little bit there, but I have to say, still able to keep this close. We tick down under 4 minutes to go, and this is still anybody's race for second.
I think we have 3 laps left at this stage. Hard to tell. It might actually be close to an extra lap around here. So we watch Billy Smith come past, only 0.3 separating himself from Bradley Haley to decide this 2nd position. And now he's got Dale Green, who's going to stay off to the left side. Nicely done. They'll come upon Jerry Mueller next in the GT Pro class, but I think they might be able to catch him between 5 and 6.
They might get it, and if it's there, it could really throw up a wrench into this works. Ooh, Haley runs a little bit wide there out of the exit of turn 5. That's going to slow him down a little bit. Not going to catch him in 6. Oh, I think Smith may catch him right at the apex of 7. Indeed, gets off the line. Haley has to check up a little bit, and that's going to hurt them both. And that was Smith there with a little bit of tail wiggle, too.
Still going to be able to ride that slipstream as they come down towards the chicane. The laps ticking away, and in fact, they will have 3 laps left this time by. Now that I've got a solid feel for the time left, not going to make the attack on Billy Smith. He'll ride behind him. They come upon yet more traffic, so they should have a break here through the first part of the lap, which is the most desirable place to have things clear for these two.
Yeah, and it looks like Bradley Haley lost out a little bit there. That was Ryan Robertson, the leader of the GTIMs that they were getting around. Now we'll have to see. This has been a little bit of Smith's Achilles heel here, coming up through the S's and into turn 5. Able to get it on nice and easy there. Again, Haley running wide at turn 5. That's costing him some time.
Would have thought that Haley would have had an easier time. Thought that Smith would have gotten too much damage to be able to outrun him. But so far, he's been holding his own, and a tip of the hat to Billy, the veteran of this series, for being able to do what he's done. And 2 laps to go now. Kundinger just going past the line with 1:30 left.
Carter's still holding on to that 13-second advantage as of now. The gap between Haley and Smith growing a little bit. We ride on board with Bradley Haley here as he takes over the line. 2 laps to go. Ooh, a little bit of a bottleneck up ahead for Billy Smith. He's having to take a very, very narrow line there through turn 1.
Oh, but look at this. Oh, having to dodge and weave. Haley nearly getting into the back of Christopher Pies. Thankfully, no contact between them. It's down to 0.4 of a second.
0.4 of a second. Let's see here again. Haley gets a little bit better of a line, a much better line. There he goes. This could be the move, Joe. Dives out to the outside. Is he going to try to make it? No. Smith is earlier on the brakes.
Maybe he wants it here. This is where you really want that slipstream. And yeah, look at the exit. He just powered down as early as he could. And Haley should have a slam dunk. Will he, though?
Well, we're going to have to see. I think he would have liked to have maybe gotten a little bit more draft there from Billy Smith, but he is at least closer and more alongside than he has been. That change in the track's going to help him ever so slightly. Hard onto the brakes. Smith much better under braking. He does lose a little bit of the apex speed, and here comes Haley trying to fight back.
The over-under wheels onto the grass. He manages to get side by side through the final corner, almost touching door to door as the white flag waves for them.
They're still going to be side by side going into turn 1. Oh, a little bit of a bump, and there Haley uses the pick. He uses the pick of Kevin Binkley to get around before they dive into turn 2.
And Smith has to lock him up too. He's going to lose time. And ghost contact with the GT car, unfortunately. Oh. Well, that is sad to see on the very last lap. Smith losing a little bit of time. It's not done, but he's going to have to hope for a miracle. In the meantime, Carter Kundinger comes to the final chicane. Who would have thought that he was the one starting from 8th on the grid, 4 third places, 2 third places, and a second for him have now turned into a win for the first time this season. The 0-2 takes victory in the season finale.
Oh, and Billy Smith losing it in turn 10. That is going to give the position fully on to Bradley Haley. Smith will be able to carry on. Oh, and he gets into the side. That was Pies, I believe.
No, Pies is in the gray car. That was, I'm not sure who that was that he turned over. In the meantime, our next one up is going to be Ryan Robertson. A little bit more of a calm finish for him. I think that was Joey Atterbury that went over the top of of Billy Smith. But in the meantime, Robertson takes the win, and the GTMs is behind him. Ross Booth will not only take the win and come from behind here in the GT Pro Championship, he is going to take the win in the points. This has got to be an emotional day for the 03.
It certainly is. This has been a battle across season for him. A wonderful drive here today and a wonderful season for your GT Pro champion, Ross Booth.
Well done. We're going to head to break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We expected this one to be exciting, but we didn't think that we'd get the race that we got in the prototypes, which saw attrition take out many of the leaders and Carter Kundinger go from 8th on the grid to taking victory in the end. Bradley Haley followed him home in second, with Billy Smith unfortunately having a chaotic last stint with multiple contacts and having to settle for third after nearly missing out on his first win of the season. It just wasn't meant to be. Tinsey promoted from way back in the field after an off on the first couple laps, getting promoted to 4th. Lee Peterson gets a top 5, and Mark Wilson a 6th, a lap down. All the other prototypes DNF today.
And it was a rough field for them, but in the GTEs, Ross Booth powered through and was able to take the win and the championship here today from a great and scrappy drive from Stephen Jeffrey. Christopher Pies was able to come home in third, further solidifying his third in the championship, with Young Park in 4th and Paul Slavonic back in 5th place. Mo Islam came home 6th, with Sheldon Rosenbaum in 7th, and in 8th place, doing a valiant effort to fight his way back up through the field, it was Kevin Binkley, who was taken out at that first corner, and that was his championship pretty much gone. And then finishing behind him in 9th was Joey Atterbury.
In the GTM's only 6 cars left running at the finish, it was Ryan Robertson getting his first class win of the season in the last race of the season. Then Chris Sherburne took 2nd, and David Perry wraps up the podium. Then it was Stifle, Eaton, and Dale Green, the last cars that were running on track at the end of today's race.
It looks like we have our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us. Carter, I'm not sure if you were shouting as much as we were in the cockpit, but we could not believe what we were witnessing in that last stint. Talk about it from your perspective.
Man, did I just win?
You won, my friend.
Oh, that was honestly just some of the most chaotic and fun racing that I've had on the service. I mean, honestly, just in that last stint, I was pretty confident, 2nd was probably going to be a good finish, or 3rd possibly, depending on whether or not Ryan was able to catch back up to me. But and then all of a sudden Billy was spun coming out of the S's, and I got right on his butt and was able to pass him right there, and I knew, okay, I guess it's go time. And just a little luck on my side there. And then it was crazy, just me and Billy battling, brought Washaleski and even Haley into the battle, and we were gonna have a 4-way battle for the lead. And I mean, I was looking forward to the finish, whether or not I was gonna finish 1st or 4th. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just so much luck on my side is really all I can give it to. Like, I can't say I tried. Like, I purposely tried to get through that wreck, and I had the skill to get through that wreck. It was definitely luck, but I mean, you never know. Luck on your side is always a good thing. And just honestly, just so glad to get my first win here in Autobahn, Joe. This not exactly how I'd want to get it, but hey, a win is a win. Doesn't matter how. But yeah, just consistency was key tonight.
You enter as another winner here in the series. Not only that, you solidified your position 3rd in the championship. So all in all, tonight has got to be a bit overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, a lot was on the line. I knew coming into the night. And I mean, like I said, all I wanted to do really was just have a consistent race. I knew Road Atlanta was not one of my faster tracks. But yeah, I mean, just luck was on my side. And honestly, a win and then 3rd place in the championship, it honestly just says it all how awesome this season was, even through the few downs and the many ups I had.
Well, we've also, after 14 podiums, seen you finally take a win. I assume you're going to be back next season. Do you think you can up that, take a 2nd or 1st in points fight for the overall?
I'll give it a whirl. I mean, I feel like I'm always at a disadvantage when I'm in a class with the likes of like a Paul Darling, a David Williams, Jason DeVries. I mean, those are just some of the names. You look at the list of all the prototype drivers that we had this season, and there's a lot of very high 3, 4, 5K, even 6K drivers. And Me as a little 3K driver, honestly, to be able to at least compete throughout the season with those guys is honestly a blessing. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to see what next season has to bring, see what sort of practice or training I need, and just kind of take it year by year.
If it makes you feel better, I've hovered around 3K for a number of years now. So you're representing us well. Congratulations, Carter, and feel free to thank whoever you'd like.
Yeah, I'll go through quite the list here. So obviously, first, John Ulmer. He's basically the man behind the scenes, as he's kind of been away this season from racing. But I mean, he's put all this together, gotten the broadcast together, the sessions, and just the general organizer. Then the admin team of Paul Lindsay, Kevin Santana helped out. We had Jason DeVries and Billy Smith. All those guys are great and help put all of these sessions together throughout the season. Honestly, to everyone who ran throughout the season, it's just, I mean, obviously we wouldn't have good racing if it weren't for the numerous cars we had each week, week in and week out. And then obviously the guys at AOD, Luke, who just had some issues today, and I feel bad. He has had so much pace this season and just has had almost zero luck. So he will definitely be hungry and ready for the next season. Dominic, who just had a minor internet issue tonight, he was looking really good tonight. Again, another one that's just had issues all season. And then Mo, who has been consistent but just had issues throughout the season. So it's been a tough season for us at AOD, but honestly, all those guys, and even Derek, who is the head of AOD, backing all of us and supporting all of us through these 14 rounds. Everyone in that list that I just said put together puts on a great season here at Autobahn. And then you guys as well for broadcasting it and talking through the madness we like to put on track.
Madness is a good way to explain it. And I love when you can just hear the joy in a driver's voice when they finally won. That was our winner, Carter Kundinger. As DJ has caught up with a man who's probably got quite a bit of joy, Ross Booth, our new champion.
Ross, you are the champion this year for the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and it didn't come easy today. A constant battle with Stephen Jeffrey for this victory, though. But, yeah, you've got to feel good about winning both today and this championship.
Yeah, that was – holy smokes. That was quite the race. I think Steph and I were nose to tail the entire race. But I'm speechless.
Well, there is nothing wrong with that, my friend. Now, I do want to ask you a little bit about your mindset. Obviously, your championship rival, Kevin Binkley, has an incident at the first corner, wipes him out. Did that change the way you were driving this race, or was it still just you were going for the win?
I had some pretty good advice from my teammates that I should just do what I've been doing this whole season. I got here doing what I've been doing, so honestly, when Binkley had his troubles, I'm not really sure what happened. I think he got doored off the track there. I just sort of did my thing, tried to hold off Stefan if I could. I think him and I were really close on pace. It sort of was just a yin and yang effect with traffic, and just trying to keep it on the black stuff.
Well, I'd say you did a pretty good job of that. It was a relatively chaotic race all the way through. Any moments that had you particularly worried, or was this pretty calm and collected from behind the sim?
There was one lap, I think it was my lap 40, where a GTD car lost it in front of me off of turn 5, I think it was, and I had to take evasive action to the sand. I was like, oh no. And the wall was getting close. I'm like, oh, this is over, but I was able to get it back on track and keep going.
Well, kept going. You did. Listen, it has been a spectacular season to watch you and Kevin duking this out all the way through. Anybody you want to thank for tonight and for this entire season?
Yeah, I just want to thank all the admins in the Autobahn series. They do a heck of a job each and every season. Every season I've been here since the start, and it continually gets better and better each season. So I want to thank my team, Satellite Racing and VRS, our sponsorship, and hopefully we'll see everybody back out for next season.
Well, we look forward to it. That was your GT Pro winner and your GT Pro champion. Ross Booth, and now Chad Irvine has caught up with Ryan Robertson.
Yeah, Ryan, congratulations on your first win of the season. It was really an up and down season. You kind of struggled points, but you also had 4 or 5 consecutive podiums midway through. How does it feel to finally get on that top step?
It feels pretty good. I definitely helped that both Ryan Wash and Joey were doing different classes today, but I was actually really happy with my pace throughout the entire race. I mean, as you said, it was an up-down season, and I don't think I had any major mistakes or anything at all in this race, which was a nice change of pace for me. So it feels really good, and just to top off the season, snagging that final top step, kind of put the cherry on top.
Yeah, you had a very interesting race. It looked like you got into some contact from behind about maybe a third to halfway through. Did that impact your car at all? And then kind of just walk us through your race.
No, it was. I think I just caught Joey out with me braking a little early, and he gave me a nice little love tap, but it was a 0x and nothing going on the car. Car felt fine. There was no optionals or anything like that. And yeah, it was a pretty quiet race from my side. Unfortunately, Kevin spun in the third lap, and he was gonna I know he was gonna push me pretty hard on that, and then we lost Luke partially through as well. I think it was key I took lefts only on the first pit stop because I knew by the end there my left sides were going to be terrible, and I think that was a great play, I guess, and thanks to Ross for the suggestion because it helped keep the car under control for most of it.
Yeah, do you think that the cooler temperatures out there, especially with it being so late in the day, did that impact your decision whether or not to take tires?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think in some of my testing, anything over like 90 degrees, I was gonna have to take a full set. So it was nice to see it drop way down during race time, and it allowed me just to kind of coast on that because, I mean, this track eats tires alive, mainly the left side, but all around it, in a hot temperature, it can grind straight through it. So.
Congratulations on your first win of the season. A great way to wrap it up. And who helped get you here?
Thanks to VRS Satellite Racing. Thanks to Ross and Jason and Ryan for being on the team and helping me out through my spotty races that I had, and always thanks to my girlfriend for not getting mad at me for spending a ton of hours just sitting in a sim rig, and thanks to you guys for casting.
A great race all season long. That was your winner in the GTM's Ryan Robertson. And Joe, it looks like you've caught up with our prototype champion, David Williams.
Absolutely. And David, you had a lot to go over today, even though it ended prematurely. You and Daniel Morad appeared to have a little bit of a tiff out there.
Yeah, I think we're both very competitive, so we had a little on-track frustration for each other, but I mean, it's as expected sometimes when you're racing hard. So no harm, no foul. We both talked it out. We both apologized to each other, and I think it's all good. Look forward to racing with him next time.
Oh, glad to hear that sportsmanship, especially getting to race against someone with his reputation, being able to race an IMSA. But let's focus instead on your championship. Obviously, you sealed it up today as soon as you took qualifying, and DeVries hopped over to another class. So was today mostly just a formality and simply trying to go off with a bang, not the type of bang that we had, unfortunately?
Yeah, I was really hoping to honestly ease to an easy win tonight. And then I saw Daniel had joined right before qualifying, and I was like, oh, man, here we go. And then, yeah, we had a good battle. He got called back a little bit. I don't know, about 3 seconds or so there right before the pit stop, and that really enabled me to save some fuel and go the extra lap. And I was surprised to see him pull the extra lap out. So I guess he might have been fuel saving as well. So it was going to be an interesting battle. I hated to see it end the way it did.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a theme, as others also kind of fell victim to running into issues with one another up at the front after you guys wrecked out. Regardless, it's a championship, another championship under your belt. Is there anybody you want to thank for helping make this one happen?
Well, first off, had a great season racing with all the guys at Autobahn and the Autobahn Series. Thanks to all you guys. You guys really put on the best broadcast team out there doing sim racing that I know of. I really enjoy watching you guys. Thanks to Omer and Carter and Paul and Billy and all the guys that put this Autobahn on, the admins behind the scenes. And congratulations to Carter, man, getting his first win. How about that? That is awesome for that dude. I'm really happy to see that for him.
It's hard not to smile today. And that was our champion. Unfortunately, not with the best of finishing position today with ninth, David Williams. Up next, I believe Chad has caught up with our champion over in the GTAMs.
All right. Looks like Ryan, you got a copy? There we go. Ryan, congratulations on the championship, of course, tonight. Not the way that you wanted it to go, but man, what an incredible season you had.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. That was I guess a here to zero moment there, real quick. So, yeah, that just kind of caught me out. Just very frustrated afterwards. I think I broke my wheel when all the emotion came out after that one, because I was sitting there and I was trying to prove myself to these prototype drivers who are some of the best in the league, and to be right there, feet away from the lead, minutes away from the win, when I thought I had the pace on Carter, and then just to get caught out like that and then speared by another car is just, it hurts.
I think that you did plenty to prove yourself tonight. That was an incredible run you had right there with the guys competing for the win. But, I mean, what would that have meant not only to get the win once again, you just won the last 6 races in a row in the GTAM, to get the 7th in a row in a completely different class? What would that have meant, just kind of proving yourself?
It would have meant a lot, to be honest. I'm still trying to get to grips with road racing. I started in oval racing, and I think I've been on iRacing for 3 years, about 50-50 between oval and road. So to come in and compete against these guys in both GTAM and in the prototypes this race, and be able to keep up with Carter, Billy, Bradley, and all that, and then be able to keep in touch with Daniel Morad and David is a confidence booster. It's going to take me a few weeks to shake off that wreck to get that confidence back, but it definitely means a lot. It's been an honor I was really happy they let me race. You can ask my teammates if you want, but I was a nervous wreck beforehand because I thought I was going to ruin a GT cars race, because I'm used to being passed and not doing the passing.
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch for sure. Got to ask, you going to be back to defend your title next season?
Yeah, maybe not to defend it. I'll be moving up to a different class. That's what I think a GTAM champion should do, would be move up to one of the pro divisions. So that's what I'll be doing, and then see how I stack up against the competition next season.
And for the final time, we've asked you every week the last about 2 months, who helped get you here?
First off, I want to thank all the admins of Autobahn, John Ulmer especially, putting on all the sessions and doing all the behind the scenes work. Definitely thanks to you guys. Thanks to my teammates at Satellite Racing, and to our sponsors, VRS, SimInc, Moradness, and LS Engineering. Oh, and congrats to Robertson. Hell of a win. That's not easy to do. And Ross, congratulations on the championship.
And congratulations once again. That is your champion in GTAM of Ryan Wash. Looks like for our final interview of the night, DJ, you've caught up with Kevin Binkley.
Kevin, I hate to be talking to you on a night like this. Obviously, from that first corner, this race just went off the rails for you. Talk me through what you're feeling, man.
Glad the season's over with and I can relax again, Yeah, it's racing. It would have been nice to, especially for the show's concern, to race hard with Ross and see who would have came out. Honestly, I think just seeing the pace of things and how practice and qualifying was panning out, unless I could have put a little pressure on Booth, he would have ran away with it one way or the other. But it would have been nice to get that opportunity. But that happens. I've done that same thing before, and it almost feels worse to be the guy that does that than the person that got taken out. So I tried to, let Brian know, hey, it is what it is. It happens. No hard feelings.
Well, I got to say, Kevin, you're handling this a lot better than I would, my friends. But you've got some downtime to relax now, looking ahead, looking to greener pastures. Next season, are you going to make another chase here in the GT Pros? You thinking of moving categories? What's your plan?
I don't know. I might take a season off, may not. I might move around. It depends. We'll look and see how it goes. I never like sticking to one car for too long. I love car hopping. So we'll see. I'm gonna take the time off and enjoy relaxing Mondays again and not having to stress about a championship or performing. So I look forward to taking some time off.
Well, I would say it's well-deserved after the season you've had. And Kevin, obviously not a good result here tonight, not in the championship, but it has been a heck of a season to watch you drive. And anybody you'd like to thank for what I would say is one of the most impressive second places championships I've seen in a long time.
Thank you. Yeah. First and foremost, Ross, man, he's been a hell of a competitor all season long. Absolutely had a blast racing against him, and we've always seemed to find each other on track, and it was very clean racing as well. So congrats to him. As always, shout out to my dad for watching these races. He loves watching these, and every Tuesday we ended up chatting about it, so that's always fun. I want to thank my Rumble Strip Racing guys for having to deal with me this season and the ups and downs of the championship. And to you guys for putting on a heck of a broadcast. It's really what you guys do is really great, so I appreciate it.
Well, it is much appreciated back here to be able to showcase such great racing as that. That was your second place in the GT Pro category tonight, Kevin Binkley. Joe?
And that's going to wrap up our interviews. It certainly was a fitting end to the season of what was a tense one all season long. But a big thank you to the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We love covering these guys, and you can see why. But all thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Chad, DJ, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store. It's at simracingmerch.com/GSRC, and we keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.